Well,
what only happened once?
the graph I'm about to show you, but I want to see what you guys drew first. No, hold that thought, Tara. Give me 2 minutes. I hate to do this to you, but give me 2 minutes because I have the actual graph. What Riley said was correct. You can't draw unless you guess correctly what the graph looked like right now, right? You can't unless you guess it correctly. You can't draw it. So what I want to hear is I want to hear some of the ideas you guys had. Anybody come draw theirs, or describe to me what I should draw that represent yours? Oh, David, I'm looking at yours right here. So you went. Looks like you did about 60 to 70. You left this one blank. Because all I said was, nobody got lower than a 50. That doesn't mean somebody did get a 50. It just means that they didn't go lower than 50. So you went to about 5 here. What was your next one?
It was like 70 to 80. I was like around 15 to
15?
20. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, next one? 80 to 90?
Yeah, around 20, 25.
Okay, this one crept up to the top here. Good. Good. And then how many of these? Well, I guess we can figure out whatever's left, right? So it looks like 45, 50, maybe 10?
Yeah.
There you go. That's a perfectly logical guess. Anybody guess something different? How many of you look like that? How many of your graphs look kind of like that, ish? Maybe you included the 50 through 60? Yeah, maybe we did. Good, good. Andres, so you had, how many did you have down here?
I had like 2.
Like 2 down here. And then did it look pretty similar to this one?
Yeah, then I went to like 10.
10.
And then 25.
25. Oh, then you started dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a little bit more. You look like these kids that do so well as they do. So something more like this. Love it. Good. Anybody else? Is this kind of what you guys drew? More or less. Anybody drew anything different? Anything deviant from it differently? Like very different? Please.
Same type of beginning, but did like almost a cliff.
Oh, okay. Good, good. So Kelly, we're gonna go. So beginning is the same-ish,
Yeah.
and then a little bit higher.
A little bit higher. All the way up.
All the way up.
And then does a little jog down and then completely flat.
Oh, a little jog like this, and then just gone.
Yeah.
Love it. So very, very skewed compared to the first two. The first two you could argue are bell shapes. That one, because of the drop at the end, is like, okay, that's looking a lot more skewed now. Good. Thank you, Kelly. Anybody else? Want to see what it actually looked like? This is... Yeah. None of those would have blown my mind. None of those would have blown my mind. This did. That blew my mind.
Oh, wow.
That's what happened. That's what happened. Oh, wow. Exactly. Wow. Like, what the hell happened? Like, what happened? I don't know what happened that day.
They didn't go to class.
Well,
They did.
I asked. So what I did was, after this, what I could do is just simply say, the population average mu is 71. My class on average got a 71. And on median they got a 78. So technically speaking, they got a C. I could just do that, right? Or I could take, say, 10 points and have everybody score, and just ignore what happened. Can't do that. Can't do that. As a stat guy and as an educator, I'm like, I want to know what happened. Because if I could ignore that bar, I like that graph, right? If I could ignore this bar, I like that graph. Because that's skewed, in my opinion, that's skewed the right way. I want my students to be skewed in that direction. I want most of you to be in that high hump. And I track this. Every single exam I give, including the out-of-class one, I track them. What's interesting is the shape of the graph hasn't changed since I switched from in-class to out-of-class exams. I thought, my colleagues said, oh, get ready for you're about to get hundreds. Doesn't happen. It looks the same. It doesn't look like this, but it generally looks like this on all my assessments. I can't explain. For 243 and 244, it actually does this. Most people are getting A's with an exponentially lower B's, exponentially lower C's, and so forth. But it hasn't changed since I had in-class and out-of-class. So the concerns, this goes back to, I think it was Alicia talking about the economic indicators and stuff. So very often we speak about what we think is going to happen, not what we've measured as happening. And when I come back and say, well, here's what happened, like, oh, okay. Okay, so anyway, what happened here?
It's algebra.
It's algebra, okay. That's
That's what happened.
actually pretty close to the truth, Michelle. Trinity?
I love algebra.
Well, and here you are.
I'll take that.
That, oh. Well, you won't for the next 8 weeks, sister. So, but what happened? I actually went and contacted these students. Roughly half of them were going to drop the course, never did. For some reason, came and took the exam anyway, and then eventually dropped the course. So they were planning on dropping the course anyway. So that would have cut the bar down to 10. The other 10 we dealt with. They either had simple misunderstandings that were keeping them from being successful. So I did kind of like a little quick little intervention, seemed to have helped. And from this class, I learned to have more resources. This was the class that taught me to buff up those web pages with extra resources, class videos. That was the beginning of this idea. Have more resources for the students. That's what this taught me. But what I didn't do was ignore it and say, yep, it's this distribution. They got an average of 71, it's all good. Because I recognized it as what's called multimodal. Multimodal means it's got more than one mode. If you had to tell me how this class is doing, you say, well, roughly a third of them got F's and a third of them got B's. That's what I would focus on. It's bimodal. There are 2 modes here. Focus on that. That's important to notice that. Yeah, you can say the median's 78 because it is. And yeah, you can say the average is 71 because it is. And that's where you have to balance it. Should you? No, you shouldn't. Because the modes are actually showing you something more interesting. Faith, go.
So what was the average?
71. That's what this symbol is, the Greek letter M. Mu. So now it might not look exactly like that. If you try to balance this on your finger, you might put it further to this side. That's based off the raw data, not the graph data. So as Riley correctly said, I didn't give you enough information. But I didn't expect anybody to draw that shape either. I mean, some of you could have just simply drawn a bar straight across 12. Right? Because there's about 60 students in the class, right? There's about 60 students in the class. It could very well be that 12 got F's, 12 got D's, 12 got C's, 12 got B's, and 12 got A's. That's 60. I've never seen that happen. Please don't make it be a first. I don't know how to deal with that. I don't want to think about dealing with that. I don't have enough coffee to deal with that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to plan for that to happen. What's that?
The coffee gets graph.
Well, the coffee's going to happen. The graph's hopefully won't.
Coffee's already happened.
It's in the process of happening. Fair? So we've looked at 3 different kinds of distributions. Symmetric, bell-shaped, those are very common in statistics. We're going to keep seeing them in statistics. Skewed, equally, slightly less common in the formal analysis of statistics, which you'll understand as we go through this course. You'll understand why. Bimodal, trimodal, quadmodal, multimodal distributions are so fun to deal with when you come upon them. You just don't always come upon them. So when you do come upon them, it's fun to deal with them. It's fun to attack them because they usually raise more questions than you want. Like, I could have just dealt with this by letting it go. But then as soon as I look deeper in, I learned something else. 1 or 2 things. That's what's good. That's what's good. Cool. Any questions thus far? Is making sense? Hopefully it feels kind of like common sense too. It's like, oh yeah, that does make sense.